Hi, this is Eddie Coan for Strength Inc. I'm going to answer a few questions for you guys today. Matt Ward from Facebook. Ed, I've been training 18 months, or a bit over that. I've done several competitions. I'm finding that I always struggle a little bit on my deadlift, as I only do 192 and a half, yet I squat 170 unequipped, which means no equipment, just basically a belt. And I'm guessing the 192 and a half and the 170 are in kilos, so 192 and a half is 425 and 170 is 374. I feel I need to get my deadlift up. Any advice on how I can improve on this would be really good to hear from you. You are my favorite power lifter, in my opinion, best pound for pound. Well, that part you're right on. As far as getting your deadlift up, I'd have to see what kind of routine you do already. And my recommendation is to try something different. So I would actually recommend trying my routine or a version of the Mark Filippi Ed Coan routine to get it up. You can also send in a video to me at my email address on the site, and I'll actually review it and let you know. Not a problem. James Copenhagen from Facebook wants to know, what's the best way to build strength when it comes to squats and deadlifts? Well, I pretty much already told the deadlift one, and the main thing with both squats and deadlift, the first thing is technique, because you can't lift a lot of weight with bad technique. You can always lift lightweight with it, but when you get heavier, what happens is it ends up screwing up, and you wonder why I can't get any stronger, and it's usually from your technique. As long as you don't overtrain, almost any routine will get you strong to a certain point. Should I go heavy all in 1 week or split it up so I can have time to recover? It all depends what your recovery times are. When I trained, I didn't have a time going, problem at all going heavy every single week. It was just, I just moved up slowly. So my intensity increased as my percentages of my max increased. If you have a problem recovering, you can hit like 2 weeks heavy, then a down week or a speed week, or you could stagger it, a heavy squat and a light deadlift, and then a light squat and a heavy deadlift. I'm slow in moving up in my weight with my squats. Would doing higher reps or low reps build them up? I'd have to know what type of routine you're on right now, but generally I start with higher reps, and I use an old standard periodization, linear periodization, where I start with higher reps, and as the weight moves up, I lower the reps and up the weight over a period of time. If you're stagnant, my best advice would be to go back down and build a new base. What I did after every single meet is I'd go back to my old bodybuilding movements, the ones that I know worked on the weak points that I had, and work out my technique more. Build a new base. Every time you build a new base, then the end result is going to be stronger in itself. A lot of times, a lot of people don't build a new base every time they go out, therefore they don't get stronger. What's the best way to get over mental blocks when performing deadlifts? When I go heavy, I worry about getting hurt, as I had a hip injury in the past. How can I get past this? Well, I'm no stranger to hip injuries. I've had my hip replaced, and I've had a knee injury, pec injuries, bicep injuries, tricep, back injuries. I've had it all. So it's generally just start light and start working your way up from there. Just don't dive into it being heavy. As long as it doesn't hurt on the way up, it's not going to hurt when you get heavy. Just don't all of a sudden jump from 300 to 500 and think you're not going to feel it, because it will, because it's a shock on your body, and mentally you're not ready for it. So just take your time and get in there, and then that usually solves any mental block you have, because then it's not a surprise to you. Elva Ruza from Starting Strength Forum wants to know, I've read that you've never maxed out in the gym for 1 rep max, and that you're always saving those attempts for meets. Why is that? Is it because a 1 rep max carries a greater chance of injury? And how close would you go to your 1 rep max? The reason I never maxed out in the gym is because it didn't mean anything. The only thing that means anything is what you do in the meet for me, or anyone else, whatever sport it is. Did you want to peak for that meet? A 1 rep max would mean a max. That means 100%. And you only got so many 100% lifts in you, especially during one training cycle. So no, I never would. I would go up to maybe 95 to 97%. Sometimes I'd even hit it for a double, but I would never hit it for a max. It does carry a greater chance of injury, but I was never worried about getting injured. If you're worried about getting injured, you're in the wrong sport. Because when you lift heavy weights, sometimes stuff happens. Okay, how close would you go in training? I answered that, 95, 97%. But what I would do to get used to the heavy weight is I would take a heavy max. Like when I squatted 1,003, I think the heaviest I went up to in the gym was 964. But I walked out and held it for 5 seconds, 1,040. Just to get used to the heavy weight on my back without actually doing it. That usually helped my nervous system and set it up for doing that. That's about it. Rick Vicky from Facebook wants to know, for all of us with simple brains, like myself, please explain briefly and simply carb backloading. Thank you. You know what? I'm not an expert on it, so what I will do is tell you, I would look up a guy named Kiefer. I believe it's Kiefer. He wrote books on carb backloading. It's easy to understand. I'd recommend going to him. That's about it for now. We're going to do an interview next for serious powerlifting. We're going to have Dave, my web guy, ask the questions, and we'll get to it in 1 second.